So this is my end of day recap for Wednesday. Before I get into the hard time narrative, I want to talk about um, today, just how I approach today, my routine and all that. I feel like I need to switch it up. Um, Last night I got more than enough sleep. I fell asleep pretty early last night because I was feeling super fucking drained. I woke up later than I should have, but I just didn't feel motivated to wake up. I think I just been feeling so drained. I mean, I have a lot going on in my life right now, and I don't really want to get into that. I gotta move soon, and I might be homeless soon. I'm not gonna lie, but so I mean, you could just imagine how stressful this trading check could be for me, especially since I don't really have a second source of income to fund my trading career. So it's kind of hard to do this, but every trade is it's really hard, because I'm weighing everything on every trade, or I'm weighing or putting a lot of like each trade. I have a lot writing on it, pretty much is what I'm saying. Um, so it's like right now, lately I've been feeling FOMO and with my ADHD too. I've been just like, dude, it's like I have dyslexia or whatever you call it, like dyslexic, with just reading PA and especially today. But I've been realizing that I've been very impatient with and just overcomplicating everything, um, especially with my bias and all that, determining the bias and what price will likely do going into the day. I'm just pretty much trying to pattern trade two stage, string switch, all that, reversals, continuations. So today, my goal, when doing this MD recap, I'm gonna like really try to be patient with what price, what I wanted to see, what we like to do, um, step by step, right? And sit with it and just go over everything. Um, so on the daily, it was honestly the price is kind of neutral. Um, we had this two-stage correct correlation like this. We did just take out a very prominent low on NQ, which is like a strong range of this consolidation. And then we printed two-stage correct like this on the last sets. Say it was right here as well. Yes, YM pretty much. And NQ is definitely strongest today. Or overall in the daily, not really today. YM is strongest today, but I'll go over why I was more bullish today. And I mainly have to deal with as on the lower time frame. But so like yeah, we have this week pretty much opening lower the first, so this is the profile first bullishness. And then we created that strange question second state as a T and created the current C2 right Tuesday late the week. So if Wednesday is going to you can say it's like external internal what the current range is. And then Tuesday low the week C2 confirming the framework for low the week trade. So if Wednesday is going to expand away from that and continue higher, then obviously Wednesday should ideally respect the upper half or EQ or the upper half of the range. And ideally it opens lower first. So drop down for we had this SMT, right? So I mean measuring measuring pretty range from low to high. Q's here, so it's the refined killable. We have a gap on the flare break. Either it's going to be a gap on the flare or it's a relevant swing on the 1 hour to manipulate to go higher to fund loading here. But what do? Right, we created SMT, right? And keep getting that leading asset, created SMT with this high yesterday at 2 a.m. And right here. But likely for SMT because what it allows us to do with the reversal, we V-shaped higher gap, shows displacement, where you can really see it better on ES. Created at SMT and premium supply side, right? So that typically means all assets are going to reach the same target level. Especially since we have the strength switch at the original that increases the odds that all assets are going to reach the same object target level. And we're putting the S&T within premium, pretty much OT on ES, so it's likely not going to win. And what really confirms it is the phaser price going into after flipping S&T. ES broke that S&T. Right. I mean, after broke that S&T, notice what we did. I didn't actually realize this, but it kind of, I mean, I did, but it kind of like, I didn't realize I did this after. Will be inside bar, which is a form of consolidation. So clearly, we're not reversing away from this. If we're going to reverse away from this, we should just reshape later. And YM left feather swings with this high. So if we're going to do like that S&P, somebody last that S&P break into expansion logic, whatever, which I learned that from fees or whatever, then ideally the learning asset is printing YM, right? Is printing that S&T or holding S&T with it around Q, where clearly we're putting feather swings with that high. And then all assets fell better, clearly. So this is likely retracement, right? So I like that. I think based on the asset sync today is likely more bullish, especially at this price, right? And then heading into today, 1800 reached the key level and all assets reached it, so there's no S&P with it. And there was no reverse signatures away from it. Correct. Pretty sure there's. And we just consolidate. We don't really respect the gap. We respect it via like closures and all that, but we don't really reverse away from it. And that's when we form S&T with this low here on Q, which is pretty space S&T. And this is strength switching with YM via swing low S&T, which is great to see. So ideally, I mean, ideally it's 2 AM low today. And 6 AM should continue. ES though is printing that S&T within OT, so it might break right into us, it might break that S&T, which it does from 6 AM. We will hold the S&T with YM around EQ. This is exactly what you want to see. Right, if it's going to be middle asset, S&T break into expansion, right? It's around EQ. It's great. It's not like way, it's not like way down here. And so yeah, we hold that S&T, and we form a strength switch second stage PSP on the hourly, right, prior to the driver. So this is the GXT reversal sequence. So I could trade this because I have the strength switch second stage PSP. And the only thing I don't like about the reason why I can't trade YM is because of the daily profile. The day opens lower on NQ and ES at first, so the day has that large wick. Right, we open lower at first into the refined level EQ or pre-range, which is Q. So I mean, we're still respecting that bullish bias, right? And overall, we're still bullish until price shows otherwise that we're not bullish, based on maybe we don't respect this gap or they estimate the lows here. The fact that we created those strength switch second stage PSP, should displace with them. This is the below it. But yeah, I can't trade YM because of the profile. We open lower, then we had higher back over the daily open, then we had lower, take this low, so it's seeking to short. So price is gonna have a hard time expanding beyond the extremes of this range. So price doesn't really support, the daily profile doesn't really support the expansion beyond currently high to reach for the side, which is kind of the thing. So if anything, I'm going to trade E as much as the next best asset or the next strongest asset. Um, I mean, the daily profile supports the bullish framework. The look size isn't really too crazy because, I mean, in reality, we're still, respecting the EQ repair range. We barely reach beyond it. It's really not that crazy. So I know that today you could definitely still reach on ES, specifically. Today, we could still reach pretty high, which is like literally slightly above current high. So we know that if the data candle, or, the hard difference candle has a large wick, price is going to have a hard time expanding beyond the opening price of that candle. So the major liquidity is either going to be the opening price or the current candle's high. This is actually what we want to see, right? They open lower first and have Asia high, we do high day, right? Have some established high day. Exactly what we want to see. Look at the faded region. So the fact that this high is pretty close proximity to current high, this could definitely get much for sure. But see. So I mean, this one element was like confirms low before the candle, the daily candle. All time frames are aligned. But if I'm going to trade ES, right? Because I'm technically still trading YM as a ladder and a second continuation. This is not a new reversal, although it is away from, it's from below day. You could count it as a new reversal, but definitely this is just strength switch second stage VSB, strength switching which is the confirmation to be harder for that sync, right? So I can pretty much just trade ES as the next strongest asset and just TP once either YM takes a high out or just go break even and then shoot for a fix like 2 RR. Right? But the reason why I couldn't trade ES is because 6AM had that large wick. 6AM doesn't support, it's not aligned with that bullish expansion. And if I'm gonna fade the 6AM for account, then I have to measure it from below the high, from the opening to the low. And I have to position myself within the lower half of this range. My entry has to be in discount. And so looking within the C2, right, do we have that V-shaped formation? The 3-minute CSD is below the 5-minute lower range. But again, if I'm going to drop the CSD, it's in premium. So that's an invalidation that I can't fade this for. Same kind of goes with. I mean, the 4-hour look size isn't really. Yeah, it's pretty. At the time, it's pretty large. Just by looking at it, it's pretty large. So it's like there's no guarantee that we're going to reverse and expand, right? Because like I said, this candle doesn't support the most expansion, so it's going to have a hard time expanding beyond the price. So we could reverse, but we're probably not going to expand beyond the price that much. But we do actually do that. So like, what do we do? Part of the river, put in the reversal, right? This should be the low day. Should be. If it doesn't respect this, then clearly this S&P is not prominent. Clearly, we're not going to hold EQ range or respect or break this S&P, etc. We're probably back to it. That'd be an advantage towards the bullish price. Do you respect it? YM expands like crazy, which is insane. Didn't expect that. The profile for look size. But we nevertheless do expand and we trade S&T with current high, which obviously is likely for their speed because what it all has to do with the initial reversal, the V-shaped higher. So particularly these all assets are going to reach the same target level, and ES is putting that S&P with MT, so possibly, maybe ES breaks that S&P and NQ holds it, possibly. But yeah, right now we're cutting S&T with current high. And this actually could be a problem. We could actually reverse away from this. This is a problem reversal because of the daily profile on YM seek and destroy, so it doesn't really support price. There's really nothing beyond this. Yeah, we have this high. This is a really good swing to the high. the daily profile doesn't really support price to expand beyond the side average for this line. And if we look at NQ and ES, we have that large daily wick. So again, we don't really support the expansion beyond this high, and there's really nothing beyond it. So it makes sense for this S&P to cap off the daily range. So it's logical. This is a logical reversal. I'm not just like pattern trading two-stage correct position right, at the reversal. But again, I still see that strength correction at the reversal if I'm going to trade the initial swing points. Cannot 2, kind of 3 away from the reversal. Okay. So going into 10 a.m. Let's go by 15 minutes. Ideally, we didn't create that strength switch. We just held the S&P. So what I wanted to see is possibly NQ to close with a strength switch, second stage PSP, maybe right here, maybe NQ bullishly would be a strength switch, second stage PSP. All this I said was stronger, now it's weaker. The weaker was stronger, but we didn't get that. And I want to see this close bullishly and take this high as a strength switch, second stage SMT like that. This, that would be invalid, and I would look for let's go through that. There's actually right here. I wanted to see 10 close with that strength switch. Right, close with that strength switch, second stage PP within the first 3 minutes, and then take that aside ideally, because at that point then I can confirm this SMT, because I didn't think about this at the time. It's very important to be mindful of this, because like I said, ideally if it's SMT, if it's middle asset SMT break into expansion, right, ES is going to break this SMT that formed originally right here or whatever. And if NQ be the lagging asset, it's going to hold the SMT. Ideally, NQ would hold the SMT and EQ for the range, but clearly not or no T. So now we're creating feather swings. So there's only 2 ways we can fade feather swings or feather SMT, which is kind of the same thing. But the start it's feather SMT up in the front of feather swings as well. But there's only 2 ways we can fade these feather swings. Either strength switching at the reversal, or it's displacement away, right? I remember GXT saying that he typically demands displacement away, but this is actually very clean. This as a DB because I can set the daily size up, and because the weekly daily profile, logic or bias. So I really need to see that strength switch. So ideally, this closes a strength switch with PSP bullishly, and then we reswap this high out, and then this has strength switch would confirm the SMT to fade the further swings, and then ideally price confirm the strength switch with a clean V shape away, which would confirm the 10:30 a.m. new 9 AM cannot open C2, and then at that point the 1 hour 30 minute or the 4 hour right 10 a.m. would support that bearish expansion, it aligns bearishly. The daily would support that bearish expansion, but the daily profile is obviously delayed, so the major one would be that would be currently low. And of course, if I'm going to trade any asset, it's going to be IQ because it's the weaker asset, leading as a version. And we didn't get that though, but that would have been the best case scenario. And then we've seen all assets fail to reverse away from or displace because so there's no strength switch at the reversal. So at that point, what I wanted to see is because I still want to see bearishness. I think bearishness is cleaner than for NQ to catch up and break this S&P. I just didn't really care about that, honestly. So what I thought we could possibly do is engineer this high as a relevant swing, and then we'll create strength switching via swing high S&P. But it's kind of clean because of how things were this high. If we're gonna switch strength momentarily bullishly on NQ, then we're probably gonna crack this. It's probably closer to it. But we've seen price on all assets clearly we are failing to displace lower right away because this is C2 this is the initial reversal, right away from this ST, then since there's no strength switch at the reversal, I have the demand displacement, and ideally C3 expands lower greatly, C4 as well, to create gaps, right, during C3, C4. We don't do that on any asset, we clearly failed to displace lower, especially since NQ retrace into this gap and printed a strength switch PSP to confirm the universal sequence. Right, we have that two-stage crack, displacement gap. We have a reason to continue. So this is a, it could be a high probability gap to continue higher to break this SMT, right? Turn NQ as well in this configuration, but I still want to see variations. So I thought that maybe this research could send price higher to create this and then maybe go lower. But it's obviously probably not going to happen, like I said, because of the close proximity to the side. So but one thing that I want to show as well, this is very clean, is that this PSP 1030 AM for this, the low of this candle is an hourly gap high. So so within this candle, within the wick, we have a reversal, and it's in the form of a strength switch, right? So when the new 11 AM candle opens up, right, it's kind of like that. If the previous session made a place, the next session should just continue to expand, right? If we reverse, we should expand. And since NQ is the asset that's momentarily switching to the stronger asset, and based on how YM is closing and opening a little bit closer to this gap, NQ should ideally not take this gap, or should not reach this gap, and we should form strength switch via this unfold on the other. And this would actually develop to trade from the probably actually carry the trade NQ as a continuation to break the S&P guys. Because I look for either S&P fill or strength switch via S&P fill or strength switch second stage PSP, either with a swing low or with a PSP. Check this. Well, we didn't get that here on the 30 minute, but this gap right on the LED is right here. So if we didn't take that low out, then during 11, that would be a strength switch second stage PSP on the 30 minute, which would valid the trade, or a strength switch via S&P fill on the area. But what I'm trying to show is that actually makes sense to fade this hourly gap on NQ because NQ should have reached its gap. So if this 30-minute swing point confirms a low retaining candle, GXT will sequence chart. Now the 1 hour 30 minutes is aligned, 4 hours aligned, and the daily is aligned with the daily profile, and we get it which is high. And we have confirmation to access sync rate. Mainly if we actually create this, we fill on and if one actually trades below so into that area, then yeah, we have confirmation to sync. For me personally, technically we have it here with the PSP, but I have to see when I'm trading that gap. Then I'm entering pretty much off the CST within the C2, right? I'm looking at the C2, do we have that clean V shape? Which I can do because we have, this is the SMT here. Create an SMT with this low here. And then we V shaped away from that. Okay. So 1030 C2, and then C3, right? Look at this phase of price to expansion of clearing all these consolidations, loss retracement. And so if I enter off the CSD here, or maybe because there's no guarantee that price will just you could do that, but realistically I could also just because I can't enter here because if I mess up EQ that work, I don't like that RR, so I can manipulate a little bit. That right there. Ideally, YM up is lower, trading that over the gap. This candle, or NQ should have deal with lower as well. Trip me in, and yeah. right? And like I said, NQ should hold this out of the gap, which is technically here. So I mean, really, you probably should put your stuff here. Something that's probably not good, honestly. And like I said, NQ should respect the CC, should not trade this out of the gap. So YM should create that SC fill like that. And we should expand away on the glasses. Continue to fade the out of the gap on NQ. Because I mean, in reality, it's, you know, we're technically trading into that with the anyways online. So we don't need to ban both houses to trade the gap, right? Obviously, but as you see, we don't retrace it. And YM doesn't retrace it, doesn't retrace it back with the gap. We don't do that. Which is crazy. We just leave it. And then the price just doesn't reach this high and reverses away from literally nothing. We just hold that SMT, which is crazy. So yeah, pretty shitty. But so yeah, that I learned that from GXT, of course. How we could fade this area. I don't know. So, but we didn't confirm async for me personally, so nevertheless, I wouldn't have tried this anyways because I wanted the versions. I didn't really care about this, and I just think I didn't really think it was like hot too high, really. But and we didn't have confirmation to the async, so it doesn't matter anyways. And even then, even if we, I think that if we did actually confirm that, if we did create that async one, I think that price probably would have tricked me. But well, I decided to just not go there. So. But yeah, that was a different size. So what I was waiting for next is for possibly wanting to break this SMG and we could look for versions away from it. Because again, it doesn't support expansion portion on all assets beyond the side. So it makes sense to reverse away from this. We just dimension. So, pretty high res after that, so there's really nothing you can do within this. Regardless about it. To capitalize on this really. So yeah, the bias, you know, that was today. The bias was bullish or bearish, but since we opened lower at first, they did prefer the supported bullishness because that's how the bullish kind of forms. And what we did, target over, all that, right? And so although, yeah, you know, it was pretty shitty. You know, you couldn't really capitalize on the reversal here because of, like I said, the forward size and all that. So I had to wait for splits in the way to confirm the low day, confirm the reversal away from that 2-stage. And then at that point, it made sense to rush lower, going to the 10 and wasting any confirmation to that. And I really wanted to see bearish there, to be honest, bearishness there. The fact that we didn't fall maybe 6 years away from that, yeah, invalidated bias for bearishness. And then also, I didn't really care about trading assets bullishly on NQ, and even then we didn't get confirmation to it. So there's just no trade. There's no trade, and I, you know, like I said, based on what has happened with me, in my side of trading, all that, it's really hard to accept that there's no trade. I feel like I've got a trade that I gotta make some work with. It's whatever. It's not gonna be a trade every day. As long as I didn't lose money today to W. So. And I think it was a good pass. I think it was a good pass. To not trade during the driver. Probably the driver. I mean, so that was like the only trade opportunity that price offered. You could say, yeah, from me personally. So, one thing I want to talk about too as well is the strength switch that formed here in the arrow is great to see because that strength switch formed via, you know, YM was originally weaker. YM and Q was originally, you know, now it's stronger. Right. So it's important to note that this is not a reversal or this is confirmation to trade YM versus YM as a continuation to confirm the foil gap. And it's just really hard to confirm universal sequence framework all that. And it's important to note that also that we're switching strength via lagging asset with leading asset. So it's not like we're switching strength via lagging assets. Like if we actually say NQ didn't take slow and we close bullshit as well, that wouldn't really be strength switching rate because we're not switching strength via leading versus lag, etc. So it's like lead asset, which was originally stronger, is now switching weaker at that point. So that wouldn't really be valid. But there's not another anyone mission to letting this same goes here, but again, you know, originally weaker. Now stronger. Originally was stronger, you know, weaker. It's exactly what we want. So, right. It would be a completely different scenario if YM flows bullishly here. So they would strength switch like that. But ES, even though ES technically is stronger, so you can say NQ is still switching, you know, say if ES just close bearishly. And I guess you could say, yeah, I guess NQ is still switching stronger to catch up to ES. Well, let's say ES didn't take out the side. Right, so they were still has to be here. And let's say NQ, let's say NQ closed bullishly, ES closed bearishly, and line closed bullishly, or bullishly. Then would that be an actual strength switch? No, it wouldn't be because we're not switching momentarily stronger on the light asset, while the strongest asset is a momentarily switching weaker. Right, but that wouldn't be a proper strength switch. We're just formally strength switching at that point. Stronger, weaker with the lagging assets. It's like we're not trading NQ to catch up to ES because ES still hasn't taken the side. Right. So I guess even so that's one double. It's important to understand strength switching like that. So so that's my EOD recap. No trade there. Tomorrow might be different. It's Thursday, you know, I got 2 more days left, so there's no reason to stress it. I'm very mad. You know, I think Monday there was a skip day. And confirmation that there's still Tuesday. I'm very mad. Such a clean day. Could have made a lot of money. Or I could have passed my profile. That's all I could do. Today there was no trade, so we'll see what happens on Thursday for that. Maybe I'll lose, maybe I'll win. Doesn't really matter.